Breaking tonight, Donald Trump is now in transit back to Florida after being formally arrested in New York City earlier today, appearing in court faced with 34 charges of falsifying business records. Now, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg told the world's media that a thorough investigation led to his team's decision to charge Trump, but his lawyers came out fighting on behalf of the former president, vowing that nothing will stop him. Look.
When you say what his reaction was, what do you expect his reaction was? I mean, his reaction was exactly what would happen if it happened to anybody that I'm looking at now or anybody that's hearing what you're saying. He's frustrated, he's upset, but I'll tell you what, he's motivated, and it's not going to stop him, and it's not going to slow him down, and it's exactly what he expected, and so to that extent, there's no surprise. But he's also upset and frustrated and disappointed and mad that this happened.
Well, I'm joined now by the woman who many say inspired Donald Trump's run for the White House, the former Republican vice presidential candidate and former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin. So, Sarah, wow, what a sad day for your country. I, earlier in the show, described this as a political prosecution. Do you agree?
Absolutely, I do. And it's impacting on the world, what's going on today in America, because justice is at stake. And it's the most aggressive form of election interference than we could imagine at this point. Donald Trump having declared his run for the presidency again. Of course, all bets are off in terms of what they, the opposition, the socialists, the left, the Democrats, are going to do to stop and to interfere with his election bid. That's what we're seeing today. And the left, the socialists, the Democrats, they need big distractions to go on right now so that we don't be thinking about the Biden crime family and all the things that are going on that end of the political spectrum.
So they're not going to stop until they destroy him, Sarah Palin.
Yeah, bingo, exactly. And Donald Trump, though, is the right man to fight against this injustice. It's always been 3 against 1 against President Trump. It's been the Democrats and the rhinos, the Republicans in name only within the party machine of the Republicans, and the media always against him. And yet he's still standing because he's a representative of us. Just Joe Sixpack, the normal American, the patriot, the common sense constitutional conservative who just wants government off our back, get it back on our side and allow our freedoms. Donald Trump represents that for us. So, yeah, the left will do whatever they can to destroy this man. But he's the right man to fight it because he used this as fuel to fight even harder for what's right.
Well, Governor Palin, isn't this backfiring spectacularly on the Democrats at the moment? Because if you look at the polling, Donald Trump is far more popular than he's been for months and months and months. The Florida governor, Ron DeSantis, who was considering a run or is considering a run against Trump in the Republican primaries, his support has plummeted. So actually, this is making Trump more powerful, more likely to secure the Republican nomination, isn't it?
Exactly. The tactics of the left trying to destroy Donald Trump, it's biting him in the butt. Not only tangible evidence of that being millions of dollars being raised for Trump's campaign just in the last few days based on the allegations and now the indictment, but also talk to the man on the street over here in the U.S. and people will say, you know, even if I wasn't a big fan of Trump's, I don't like to see people falsely accused. I feel like I could be there. If they can do this to a former president, what can they do to us who don't have the defense that President Trump has at his fingertips? Thankfully, he does. People feel for him, not just as a person, knowing he's just beat up every doggone day and still standing, but when we put ourselves in his shoes, we realize how fragile the law and order foundation of America is today when you can see these false charges being brought against him. And we are going to find that these are false charges. This is a victimless crime. This is a woman who sold herself for sex, being believed over
Stormy Daniels,
attorneys, even her own attorney, who say that what's been alleged didn't happen. And I don't know. We're going to see that it's a baseless case against Donald Trump, and he's going to be victorious. But more importantly, America will be victorious through this, because we will prove that law and order, our rule of law, blind justice will prevail in this country once he wins.
Do you think Donald Trump can be president again, despite all of the drama surrounding these various legal cases?
I not only think that, I'm more confident than ever. As you have suggested already, support for him has been bolstered by these charges and the circus that is going on, and the rest of the world laughing at America, what's going on today. Because again, we do recognize, and the majority of Americans recognize, that this is just a big distraction. What really needs to be paid attention to is not just the Biden crime factory and family. It's been going on over there, but look what China and Russia are doing right now. Look at how our energy sources will perhaps soon be paid for by the Chinese yuan instead of the U.S. dollar, and what that can mean catastrophically to the world's economy. All these things that are most important, and yet the left, they don't want us thinking about those type of things that are most important, because something salacious, something anti-Trump is much more entertaining and appealing to the left.
Where do you stand on Ron DeSantis, Governor Palin? Because very successful governor in Florida. He has a lot of support from those who think the drama of Trump maybe just isn't a good thing for the Republican Party. But do you actually think he should unite with the rest of the party behind Trump now, because so much more is at stake given this witch hunt against the former president?
Well, I've always been a big fan of Governor DeSantis. I think he's one of America's absolute best governors, and other governors should follow suit when it comes to policy. Look what he has done for Florida. Florida is a wonderful, beautiful, thriving state, much to do with his policies. That's great. But he can be the president on down the road. I would love to see fewer resources wasted, fewer time wasted with the division that happens within a primary that's upcoming when DeSantis isn't going to win. So he might as well unite, and we might as well not waste time, not waste money. And let's get the show on the road and get Donald Trump reelected, so that the policies that he had implemented for our country, which ultimately helped the world, for our country were the right policies. Biden undid those policies from day one when he took office. We need to get Trump back in there as a representative of the will of the people, implement those again.
Now, as someone who supported Donald Trump's first run for office, are you prepared to look at taking on any formal role in his campaign? And what about being running mate again? I mean, could you ever see yourself standing as Trump's vice presidential candidate?
I would be honored to accept any tapping of anything that Donald Trump and his people would have for me, because, they know that I'm a patriot. They know that I'm a fighter like he is. And I would be honored to serve however I could. Here's the deal. Donald Trump and I, we have a connection, that being, there's nothing more really that they can do to us, that they can say about us, so our families. I mean, and Trump's situation is a million times more than anything I've ever gone through, of course. But he and I have talked about this. We've talked about we have nothing to lose except get out there and fight for what's right, do good things for this world. Well, I think we're both wired to do so. And when you've been through the ringer, when you've been through hell, you come through lit. You come through more inspired than ever to do what's right.
Well, look, I think you would be one hell of a team, if I'm being completely honest. You know, I've always said to you, without Sarah Palin, there would have been no Donald Trump, because you lay the groundwork for what came those years later. And it's absolutely fascinating to get your insight tonight, Governor. That was the former Republican vice presidential candidate, Sarah Palin, live from the US.